Good evening, everybody. This is Bob Mader, Chair of NAFI, in beautiful, frigid downtown Omaha, Nebraska. We're very happy to have with us tonight Rich Martindale and John Dowd of King Schools are here to talk about the scholarship that NAFI and King are offering, CFIs, and also a little bit about UASs, which is the hot topic since August, I think. Just a little bit about our guests. Rich is a fast team lead rep in San Diego. He works and trains a lot of other reps. Teaches on all kinds of topics. He has an online blog called Let's Go Flying. He's a member of the San Diego Airport Aviation Advisory Committee. Teaches private ground school at the San Diego Air and Space Museum. And General Atomics. I didn't catch that earlier. An active pilot and instrument flight instructor. Trained accident investigator. Holds ATP, instrument flight instructor, advanced instrument ground school. Bachelor of Science in Transportation Public Utilities at University of Arizona. And a bunch of other neat stuff. And one thing he did not put on his bio that I will say is that, and I almost forgot until he mentioned it, and I apologize, Rich, you were the Fast Team Rep of the Year, as I recall?
That's correct.
Yep, I had the honor of seeing that award bestowed at Oshkosh this year, and that's really cool. John Dowd, Vice President of Marketing for King Schools. 20 years marketing and public relations. I like this. Attendant at he was a midwife at the birth of commercial internet advertising. I changed it a little bit while I worked for ABC, Disney, MS, NBC. Director of Marketing and PR for Turtle Bay Resort, which there's a great picture you guys should have been here for earlier that I didn't want to use. And for the Turtle Bay Championships and the SBS Championships. And he's been a volunteer on the board of multiple businesses, various golf organizations, and he's helped organize and champion more events than he can possibly count, and he's brought that experience to King Schools, and we're really glad to have both of you. So, gentlemen, I am ready to kick it over to you if you want to start, and then I'm going to ping Mr. Todd to see if he's here, and take
I'm
it away.
here, Bob.
Oh, you're here. Excellent. I'm a little worried. Hi, and Rick Todd is with us. Rick is our new president of NAFI. We plucked Rick from the board of directors of NAFI, and well, he's still on the board, obviously. Made him president because we're getting so busy. I couldn't keep doing the things that Rick is helping us out in doing now, and he's doing a great job for us, and I really appreciate it. Rick, anything you want to add about yourself? All-around good guy, that kind of thing.
Not really, but I'm vice president of a manufacturing company. Been in aviation for a few years now, and just like to see NAFI going to the next level, especially with King Schools. So I'm anxious to hear what John Dowd and Rich has to talk about today. Thanks very much.
All right, and John and Rich, take it away.
All righty. Let's just get our screens in order. And just as a check, can you see the first slide in the slideshow?
Absolutely.
Terrific. I wanted to start out with just kind of going over the overarching agreement that King and NAFI made earlier this year and what some of the benefits are. The main reason we've done this is, the Kings and NAFI have had a long-term relationship based on personal relationships, professional relationships, a mutual interest, to further the aviation community. And we formalized that relationship this year and made a contract with you guys that is 2 years long. So the scholarship that we're going to be talking about today is going to be awarded this year, and another identical scholarship will be awarded next year. And hopefully if both sides of this program are happy, we can sort of move that forward into the future and keep doing it over and over again and get more and more people involved. But for the people that are listening and for the people that are going to wind up looking at this webinar in the future, just wanted to very briefly go over what the benefits are to NAFI. Essentially, any NAFI member gets 20% off of King Schools products at any time. We do offer discounts on occasions. We do have sales probably about 4 or 5 times a year, but you guys get to get that discounted price, our biggest discounted price, at any time. Now, one of the big values here is also we came out with a new HD ACS check ride course for both private and instrument this past summer. It's all brand new content. It is John and Martha with Mary Shue, who's the DPE. It is HD, and we retail that course for $139. And as CFIs and members of NAFI, you guys get to buy that course for $29. And it is a depiction of two actual check rides from first handshake to last handshake. And if anybody has any questions about what a model check ride looks like, they should definitely review that. And then the third topic here is the free courses. We offer 5 of King Schools and John and Martha's risk management courses for absolutely free. So if you're a NAFI member, all you have to do is call us, and we will get you those course keys, and you can use them at your convenience anytime. So one of the things that we're doing also, and this is an ad, a part of an ad, I should say, from a flyer that we send out to new CFIs from the NAFI packet, and we are trying to help you guys gather members as well. We want to support your efforts. So this is just kind of a fun thing that we did here. The other side of the flyer says some things about, this is a no-brainer. You should check out the benefits. It really does work. Here's the math. And essentially, we're offering, without any discounts included, about $245 worth of free courses, and also the 20% discount plus the opportunity to get the scholarship. We're talking about a savings right off the bat from King Schools that we think makes your annual dues memberships worth it without even getting any other benefit from NAFI, which is obviously not going to happen. So I just thought I'd share that with you. Now, moving on to the scholarship. This is something that will be deadlining later early next year. And the people that are eligible for this scholarship are all NAFI members. There is a process, and I'll go over that with you guys very briefly on what you need to do in order to get qualified for that scholarship, but I wanted to go over what it includes. It is $5,000 that's going to be applied for training. And I wanted to talk about that because we did get some questions during the course of accepting applications as to whether or not somebody had to actually be enrolled in a program and give us the program. When we started out, that was probably the language that some people might have read early in the process. But right now, if you identify a program that you would like to enroll in and you do become the scholarship recipient, we will use that money towards that program. So you don't have to be enrolled, unlike it said originally. Now, what that also gives you is lifetime access to any King's course. And just FYI, we probably have somewhere in the neighborhood of 110 to 20 plus courses that range everywhere from private pilot to our pro series. And the value of that course, those courses, plus the idea of free FIRCs for life, hopefully everybody lives a long time and can take advantage of that, the scholarship is worth more than $18,000. And I did want to talk about the $5,000. It is not going to be a check made out to the individual that has won the scholarship. It will be made out to the programs and or schools that the person identifies as what they would want to use that money for until that money is utilized. So just as a quick example, if somebody is spending $2,000 in one program and $3,000 in another, we're willing to split those checks up and send it to 2 different places so they can get the full value of that amount towards their education. Now, it's pretty simple to apply. What you're going to need is all of these items here, and there's also information on the website as well, and I'll give you that address next. But if you can't remember anything, it's kingschools.com, NAFInet, the same as the NAFInet URL. you append it to the end of this King Schools URL. But you are going to need copies of all your aviation medical certificates, the last 3 pages of your logbook. We want a 500-word essay maximum, I'll emphasize that, and we want to hear your story. We want to know emotionally, professionally, what were your reasons that you decided you wanted to be an instructor? What were your motivations to take your training beyond that basic level and want to share it with other people? It can be humorous, it could be anecdotal, it could be strictly educational and professional. It's up to you. I'm sure some of the questions are going to be, what exactly are you looking for? And I cannot tell you that right now, but we'll know it when we see it, as we do have some other definitions for things like that. We did this last year with the WAI, and the person that did win it was a K-State instructor looking towards getting her doctorate, a cancer survivor, a young woman, mother of 2, and when she told us her story about her flight training, her hardships, we just knew it was the right person. There are some stories out there in public of John and Martha awarding Lindsay Drayling that scholarship at the WAI conference. So that'll give you an idea of one person that was a qualified and absolutely deserving applicant and winner. We're going to need 3 letters of reference. We'd like you to submit a resume. The application is an interactive PDF. So I'll show you a quick shot of that towards the end here. So you basically fill it online, or if you want to, you can download it and fill it out by hand. You can email that to me, or you can mail it to us. The deadlines originally were December 31st, and then we looked at the calendar and realized all the bowl games and the days of the week, etc. So we have extended to January 3rd. And January 3rd is a Tuesday. It's the first day that most people are going to be heading back to work after the New Year's holiday. If, for some reason, anyone out there cannot make that deadline, just please let us know, and we'll try to make some calls as to whether or not we can accept it. It will be announced at Sun and Fun this year, so that should add to some of the excitement, hopefully, of that great event. And here's some information here that you can hopefully use. Email me if you have any questions. You can call my direct line. There's the number. And then the kingschools.com NAFI.net, like I mentioned earlier, will take you to the information page that lists all the programs for NAFI, and then there's a separate page for all the scholarship information as well, including the application. This is the top of the application. This is what it looks like. And if you take a look at the light blue fields there, those are the interactive fields. But again, we'll accept admissions by mail, by email, by fax, however you can get them to us, just as long as we can get them hopefully by January 3rd.
And again, that's a postmark date, not...
That's a postmark date.
Or a file date if it's emailed or whatever.
Email stamp date, yeah.
Yeah.
And again, we want to, if somebody out there knows someone that would be willing to apply, we really want you guys to encourage this. NAFI's done a really nice job promoting it. We have been promoting it through our social media channels as well. And I keep saying that someone is going to win this scholarship, and someone's going to be very, very happy that they won this scholarship. So I would say do your friends a favor, let them know, and get the word out there, and let's get those applicants in to us on time.
Okay. So we got the next topic coming up. So before we go on, I'm going to unmute the mics, and normally I do this up in front. The ground rules are, if you're not going to talk, please mute your own microphone, either on the phone, your phone, or whatever you're using, device you're using, or in the application, because we get a lot of reverb and noise, and I don't want to be the bad guy and start hunting people down and muting the mics remotely. So if anybody has any questions, I'm going to open up the mics for a moment, and if there's any questions for John or Rich. Or Rick, do you have anything while I'm doing that?
No, John's handling the scholarship. I just think it's a great deal. The lack of pilots in the airlines is not a fake news story, and the lack of CFIs to train them is not a fake news story. So we're working with you guys to do whatever we can to help increase the field of CFIs out there.
Okay, I'm going to open up the mics. Before I do that, Rick Todd, do you have anything?
No, I don't have anything to add at this point.
Okay, great. I'm going to open up the mics if anybody has any questions.
And that can include any questions about the NAFI King Schools benefits as well.
Yep. Any comments, questions, thoughts? Wow, you've stunned them.
I think they're all starting to write their applications right now.
I hope so. Just for me personally, I got to tell you now, I'm probably the least qualified person because of a lot of factors and mainly career choices and all that. But from somebody who mentors CFIs, I think this is one of the neatest things out there. We do need to encourage new people. We need to bring in people behind us or that are in midstream that want to do a good job instructing. Anybody who's read anything I write, I'm convinced, absolutely convinced, that the flight instructor or flight educator in general, ground school instructors, anybody who touches aviation is what makes it, has the power to make aviation better and stronger. And we need to encourage people to come in and do that for both growing aviation, general aviation, and also the airline shortage, as Rich mentioned, the airline pilot shortage. And the other reason is safety. We have better instructors, we're going to have safer skies. We have safer skies, we have a better rep. We have a better reputation, and we don't get into arguments about airports in the backyard. And our neighbors and friends don't ask us silly questions like, why do you fly those little airplanes? So that's where I come from on all this. And I'm glad you brought the slide back about the deadlines and contact information, John. Exactly.
So, Bob, I think you do have one qualification. You became the head of a pretty significant organization.
I'm not going to go, yeah, but I got the ratings I need right now, so I'm not going to get in anybody's way.
Okay.
I'm not going to compete with anybody on that.
Yeah, one of the other things I want to mention is, a lot of people are talking now about their personal brand, with the debut of social media and people branding themselves. We think that most pilots and CFIs are not really strong brand ambassadors for themselves, but there will be some recognition and benefits for this winner. We want to hold them up as one of the standards of our industry.
That's great.
Actually, that you mentioned that, John. Maybe you could plug a little bit about the professional development series that King has that a lot of people don't even realize about as far as the business side goes.
Well, there are courses available at King Schools, and there are some free courses as well that basically tell John and Martha's stories. And they talk about how they started and created their business, basically doing a fly-arounds to airplane hangars in the 70s and teaching in-person classes to a few hundred people. There are pilots out there that saw John and Martha live, and their story became one of somebody suggesting to them that they put themselves on tape and start distributing VHS tapes. So their first step was to record themselves on tape, send the tapes to the CFIs. The CFIs would then plug the tapes into a small television, probably at that time 19 or 21 inches, and they'd sit up in front of a room and everybody would watch John and Martha on tape while the CFI was there. And that very, very quickly evolved to a direct marketing model where they realized that they could sell them directly to people, and people could look at them on their own time, in their own place, on their own VCRs. And then as the technology changed from that to DVD, CDR, and then now Internet, our distribution model has changed to the point where now more than 95% of our courses are all sold online and used online on iPads, phones, and or PCs, and Macs, of course. So that is documented in one of the courses that we have on King Schools as well.
Well, there's also some professional development courses, like you said, too.
Yes.
So, yeah.
You can look at those under the John and Martha series.
Yeah.
That's one of the things that I encourage flight instructors to do is find a way to brand themselves, whether it's you're the pro from Dover on tailwheel training in your area, or you're an expert on this, or just get known as the person in the area to go to. And that's not I'm not trying to set up instructors to compete against each other and steal business away from each other. It's really the rising tide. Rising tide raises all boats. If we all do a better job, we'll enjoy more students and more completions. And doing that, having that kind of success under your belt, you get more business. Joseph, I'm going to make a hash of this. Shimnich, I think, asked a great question. He's getting a CFI one-on-one from a standalone instructor, Part 61 instructor apparently. And if he wins the scholarship, how would you handle that?
Well, we would, probably talk to his instructor and make sure that they're, a member in current standing of, that all their certificates check out, and we would work something out where we would be able to pay that instructor.
Okay, great. Yeah, I figured you would, but it's a good question, and it's one of those things, if you don't ask it, then it comes up later and everybody's confused. So thanks for answering that.
Yeah, and Bob, I may be able to see the chat questions as well, so.
Okay.
I was going to get to that one.
I apologize.
That's okay.
All right. Well, anybody else have anything? Or I guess maybe we can move on to the next topic. Well, let's do this. Let's go on to the next topic, and before we finish up tonight, let's come back to that contact slide just to make sure everybody has it.
Sure.
Okay.
Well, you kindly published my letter to you guys about my experience with a compliance situation for a deviation that a pilot was involved in. And I just wanted to make sure, the reason I sent the letter is I wanted to make sure CFIs know that there's an activity in this process that involves them, and they need to be aware of it, and if they want to participate in it, they need to make sure that the folks in their FISDO know about it. So basically the FAA has figured out that people do better if you help them and train them rather than just take their license away from them. So they've come up with the compliance philosophy. And that doesn't mean they don't do enforcement anymore, but what happens is if there is a pilot deviation, the inspector in the FISDO is going to look into the event, going to talk to the pilot that had the deviation, and make a determination whether that just a little bit of a learning moment occurred and some training would be useful, and the pilot could go on and have a good productive time and not have to get their wrist slapped and have any sort of an enforcement action. So once the inspector determines that remedial training would be a better route to go than enforcement, that inspector will then turn it over to the safety program manager in the appropriate FISDO. So in the case of my situation, the deviation occurred in New York, but San Diego is the home FISDO. So the New York FISDO investigated it, determined that remedial training would be a good idea. They forwarded it to the safety program manager here in the San Diego FISDO. He took a look at it, looked at the deviation, looked at the elements involved in the deviation that could be trainable, and developed a training syllabus. The FISDO people do not do the actual training. They have to get a local CFI to do the training. So this is CFIs need to know about that if they're interested in doing it. They will select a CFI that is most closely got a skill set that goes well with whatever the deviation was. And they will ask that CFI if they would be interested in doing it. And if that's the case, the safety program manager develops the syllabus that has to be trained, and then the CFI just provides the training and then lets the program manager in the FISDO know that the training is complete, and it goes away. And it's just a win-win situation for everybody. The only drawback on it and they have to offer remedial training to the deviating pilot, because the pilot is going to be responsible for paying the CFI's fee, and if he has to rent an airplane, he's going to have to do that too. and it usually is going to involve a minimum of 3 hours of ground training and 3 hours of flight training. So that's compliance versus enforcement. I had been reading about it and wondering how it would shake out, and then got personally involved in it, and I found it to be very useful and very rewarding. Bob, I know you've done one or two of these. Has your experience been any different than that?
No, it's very similar, although the humorous part of the way it came about was I was sitting at my desk and I got a phone call. I was in Omaha. Many of you might know I commute between Omaha and St. Louis, and I got a phone call from a St. Louis phone number. I recognized it. So why is the FSDO calling me? And what I do in St. Louis, and so and an inspector came on, or the safety program manager came on and said, "Hi, this is so and so." I said, "Yeah, what can I do for you?" And he goes, do you know such and so?" I said, "No." "Well, that's good. You're his instructor now." And it was if I give away the whole story, it might be identifiable, but the very short version was, it was an incident, an unfortunate incident involving a commercial pilot, and he made a mistake. And what was really neat is the program manager at the time said, "Look, the guy came in, he was all apologetic. He's clearly somebody we want in aviation, because he said right up front he goofed. What do I need to do?" And that was how that's how I got introduced. It was a great experience. And if any of you have a chance to participate, I would strongly recommend it. Let your FSDO know that you're interested in doing that. Yeah, somebody's going to be looking over your shoulder a little bit on the way you train, and but at the backside, I learned some tricks from the program manager about how to bring the person into, and it was an aircraft damage incident, but I learned some tricks that I passed on to my students. So overall, I thought it was very positive.
Yeah, it was a good situation all the way around, and in all honesty, the guy that I dealt with, he had kicked himself harder than anybody else could.
Exactly.
So that it was just, we just got together, had a good time, went over the syllabus that the FSDO manager laid out, and we walked away, and we all had a good time.
Yeah, and the nice thing was at the back end, the guy kept the certificate.
Yep, nothing on the record, and it's just a clean bill of health.
Yeah, and yeah, it was, and you know what? On top of it, I got a regular customer out of it.
There you go.
He came back and said, "Okay, I know who I'm going to for my flight reviews now." Great.
That's great. Yeah.
I'll take that every time.
All right. Well, that's all I had on that. Unless there's anybody has any questions. Hearing none.
Moving on.
Move on to the big topic of discussion recently is remote pilots, drone pilots, and we're getting ready to release a course on how to become get a test prep course for the drone test, and so we've been working on that for the last 6 months or so, but. Basically, I just wanted to review that there's 3 ways. Getting a certificate to be a remote pilot or a drone operator depends on where you are and what you want to do to get there. If you are a certificated pilot with a current flight review, there's an online course that takes maybe an hour, and you take a test at the end of the course. And then you complete an online 8710, and any CFI out there can then process the online 8710 to get you your drone certificate, and it goes straight to Oklahoma City. And so CFIs need to be aware that they are able to do that. Whether or not how you figure out a rate for that, I'm not sure, but all you're doing basically is verifying that the guy got the test done and has his current certificate and current medical, and you validate that on the 8710, and submit that electronically to Oak City, and a few days later they send him a temporary certificate. It's really slick. If you are a certificated pilot without a current flight review, you've either got to get a flight review and then you can do what we just discussed, or you can follow the non-pilot path. And in that particular case, you have to prepare for and take a written test for the remote pilot certificate. And it's, kind of like the private test. There are study guides out there, and that's what we're working on to help people get ready for it and understand it. We think we're giving some in-depth knowledge instead of just a straight test prep looking at questions. There's not a lot of questions out there. There's only been 2 sample tests released from Oklahoma City. So we're doing the best we can to fill in the gaps and make sure people know about it. But once that non-pilot gets done with that test, they can submit their 8710 right there at the testing facility, and they will, after a while, get their remote pilot certificate. But it does have to go through TSA first, so it's not going to be as quick as somebody that already has a pilot with a pilot certificate with a flight review. So to that end, we're coming up with a course that's supposed to be out at the end of this month. If you go ahead and go to the next slide there, John. And it's just a real quick thing that takes you through the pertinent regulations, how you load and or check the performance of your vehicle. You do have to know airspace and weather minimums, and you need to know where you can and can't operate. They're really getting good right now about having approvals for all kinds of airspace that's controlled airspace, particularly within 5 miles of an airport. But again, you need to know some aviation weather. You need to know risk management. We'll give you a test prep, and you do well on the test prep, we're going to send you a certificate that says go take a test. So that's what I wanted to talk about with the UAV operators.
So this is a King's course that most of the people out there that have dealt with King are familiar with. It is a full video course. It is interactive questions at the end. It is quite comprehensive. We are guaranteeing that you pass as well with this course as we do with our other courses. And one of the unique things here, and Bob, we don't want you to get jealous, but we are working with another organization as well on this one. We've partnered with AUVSI, which is the world's largest nonprofit company that deals with pilotless flight and robotics, interestingly enough. And they are going to be our marketing partners on this one, as well as helping us with content, and hopefully as we see additional licensing and certification requirements, they will come along with us as more and more courses are going to be needed, what we think will become increasing complexities of drone operations. And Bob, I know your industry, that's something that you guys are very interested in seeing, as licenses that can do more, go further, and be even more impactful on operations for commercial purposes.
Yeah, I really can't talk about my company without approval, but I will say this. For the CFIs out there, especially the current iteration of the certificate, many of you may look at it and go, okay, well, no endorsements required. They can go take the test. Why get us involved? And many of you have read what I've said in eMentor and in the magazine, in the Hard magazine. This is a golden opportunity to interact with a whole bunch of new people. And there's 2 reasons I'm excited by this, and I think John and Rich will agree with me, and I think Rick will too, is 1, we get to meet new people and bring new people into the fold. It's flying. It's aviation. It's cool, and it does productive, neat stuff. The other, excuse me, the other thing that is really exciting or really important to me is that we are bringing in newbies that they just want to fly a drone. That's all they want to do. And these things are relatively simple to fly because the automation helps out quite a bit. And it's a way of protecting ourselves. I never want to read about a 777 swallowing a drone as it's coming in to land on 9 right at O'Hare because somebody didn't understand airspace. Will it bring down the airplane? No, probably not. Will it do $1 million worth of damage to an engine? Probably. So we don't need this. We don't need aviation getting a bad rap anywhere. And it's a great opportunity for all of us to reach out, meet new people, bring people into the fold. And oh, by the way, if you think watching the drone do this is fun and taking the pictures is fun, let me take you up in an airplane and show you that. And you can do the driving.
Yep.
So great opportunities all the way around. What do you guys say?
We just had a meeting back in Washington, D.C. with the FAA working on the ACS for the commercial. And one of the things they did talk about was how the drone situation is doing. There's over 500,000 drones out there now that they estimate, and they've only had just over 13,000 people take the test, and they do have an 88% pass rate. But to me, we really got to get into that community so that they understand how to integrate into the National Airspace System and be good cooperative partners operating in the airspace system with us. And that's what this course does, is we try to get you a little bit more than just pass the test. We go into all these other things that you need to think about, risk management, and so that's why we're stepping up to work with AUVSI, is because they're very proactive in wanting to have professional relationships with commercial drone operators.
And that's a great organization, and I agree. And sooner or later, right now we're under 55. You'll notice that there's a special provision, small UAVs. Sooner or later, we're going to be talking about large fixed-wing aircraft that are going to go out of line of sight, and we're going to have to integrate that in the system.
Yes, Bob, and getting back to the opportunities here, last Friday I went up to Los Angeles to the LA Convention Center for a Drone World Conference, and the most astonishing thing, I was up there with our director of sales here at King Schools as well, is the demographics of the attendees. Having been through, some regional, local air shows, Sun and Fun, the average age, I would say, of the people that were paying money to go and see, a show that's related to aviation was under 30 years old, which is remarkable. And this was on a Friday as well. So these are people, young professionals, as well as possibly some college students. They had the show on Saturday as well, and I understand it was more heavily attended and was even younger than it was that day. So this is going to be the introduction to aviation for a lot of new faces and a lot of new blood. And as you say, at least these guys are one step closer to getting themselves into a cockpit and getting up in the air. Another interesting thing was most of the manufacturers that we saw that were represented from China had brought prototype drones, and they were heavier, they had bigger, they had more time aloft, it went faster than most of the, what we would consider the under 55-pound classification. Some of these were 130, 140 pounds with 200-pound payloads. That is what they're that's what they're prototyping over in China. That's what they're starting to try and build. And that's what they were trying to sell here in the U.S. already. So they're already working on the next gen of drones that are going to require different levels of certification. Obviously, that's speculation that they're going to require different levels of certification, but I can't see how that's not inevitable, that it would require more training. And the more training that they require, I think, is more opportunities for people from your organization.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I think it's a wide open field. It's the start of a new age, and I think we can help. I think we instructors can help shepherd this in and help do it right. The sad part would be if there's an incident that draws negative reaction, and then the FAA has to react to it because Congress will react, and then we lose something that's potentially really great for a lot of people.
Yep.
I agree. But we know it's not going to be if. There will be something that happens. So hopefully people are preparing for that. Unfortunate inevitability, but we're going to try and do our part by making sure that people fly as safely as possible if we can train them.
There you go. Any thoughts? Any thoughts on that from anybody? We're either doing a great job or it's cold across the U.S. and everybody's. Because I know I had to mute one person because of some line noise, but I got the mics open. Anybody wants to bring anything up on any of these topics? No, I guess not. Okay, well, why don't you go back to that contact slide regarding the scholarship?
Sure.
Just make sure everybody has that. Okay, again, this is a great opportunity. I have a good friend here in Omaha that I know is recommending a young man, I believe a young CFI. Let's make it gender neutral here. A young CFI who's very interested in this, and I think it's a wonderful opportunity. It's a great way. And the thing is, let me just say one more thing. Yeah, there's going to be a winner, but the exercise and prepping it for it and getting ready like anything else, especially for somebody in college that's working their way towards a career, this is a great way to learn how to prep yourself as a presentation for interviews and so on. So take advantage of this.
Yeah. I would like to throw in on top of that there's one promise I can make you, and that is if you don't apply, you aren't going to win.
I think that's guaranteed.
Absolutely. Just a quick summary. The questions that we've been getting, both contacting me here at King Schools and also on our chat, is what type of courses and schools are you eligible for? Somebody brought up a great question. How about individual instructors? The answer is yes to those. As long as you're furthering your training, that will be, and in a legitimate fashion, those people that you're learning from will be eligible to receive the funds to further your education, let's call it. And also, if you're a member of NAFI, you're eligible. That's the only underlying qualification that we have. We won't reward you directly the cash, but we will reward the cash to people so you don't have to pay something for something that you want to accomplish.
That's great. And again, NAFI really appreciates the partnership with the Kings, as with all our sponsors, but I really appreciate the sponsorship and the support. John and Martha, I'm going to say this at a personal level. Well, everybody at NAFI or at King has been kind to me, but John and Martha were the first people when I became chair. I was at Healy Expo in Vegas, and they were kind enough to come marching over while they were getting mic'd up and congratulate me. So, and they've been good friends to me and to the organization. So I really appreciate that. Everybody at King Schools has been very helpful, and we're really appreciative of this. This is really great, and well, I'm going to end up repeating myself. So, just thanks.
We definitely appreciate the relationship too, Bob. It's we like what you guys are doing.
So, Bob, a quick question. This webinar, I assume, is going to be available that we can refer people to it if they have additional questions?
It'll be up on the website. As usual, it's normally behind the firewall. I will ask John Niehaus because we're trying to promote membership through this as well.
Right. We
might put this one up in front of the firewall. That is the membership login. But we always record these, all the video and the audio is recorded, and it'll be at least it's certainly available to members. And I think, as again, I'll talk to John, see which side of the firewall he's going to put this on.
And if it is open, please let us know, and we'll make sure that this gets put up on our social feeds as well, so we can basically let people know that this great benefit is available. All those benefits are available, and this opportunity is available, but you got to join NAFI first.
Okay. That sounds like a deal. All righty. John, I left you a little private message there. If you could just, before I close this out, if you could just respond with a good number for me there. And on that note, I just want to say thanks to everybody for attending. Happy holidays. It's a great time of year. By the way, consider giving the gift of an hour of flight to somebody, just for fun. Doesn't have to, Young Eagles is great. I do that too. But even if it's some friend of yours that's always been curious, take them up for an hour while you do a little proficiency flying. Let them see the world. And believe it or not, they'll probably a lot of people get more out of that than a lot of things that show up over the transom. So consider that, but be safe. The best gift you can give all of us is that, as I've told people time and time again, I don't want to read about you in the newspaper other than you winning a prize. So be safe. Have a very happy holiday. Have a happy New Year. We will be back, and I had the third Wednesday in January queued up here. We will be back on January 18th with our webinar. It will be about the master program. John Niehaus will be hosting, and we'll be talking about our master's program in celebration of, are you ready for this, everybody? NAFI's 50th year. It's our 50th anniversary starting next year. So thanks for being members. Thanks for attending tonight. And take care.
Take care.
Bye-bye.
Have a good Christmas.
Thank you.